Hello. So today is Thursday. Thursday has been a good day. The one thing though, I was supposed to go to the gym this morning and I didn't. I remember waking up at some point, it was before my alarm went off, and then thinking I don't want to go because it looked like I looked at the time and I thought that the time on the stove said like 5:54. So I was going like, oh, 6 minutes, I still feel tired. But then, so when I went back to sleep, I then dreamed vividly and it felt like it was a really long time. But then when the alarm went off, it felt like a lot more time had passed than just 6 minutes. But I had already emotionally decided I wanted to stay in bed, which wasn't a great decision because then at that point I changed the alarm to go to like 8:15. And then, so of course at 8:50, I wake up and go like, wait a second, I'm still sleeping and dreaming vividly. And then it was like, oh fuck, I have to like get ready for work, which I did. But it just was one of those, it's weird because it's like I'm sleeping. So clearly I'm tired or need the sleep, and that's helpful. But also at the same time, I want to do these things and that it's interfering with stuff. Regardless, it just is, it's a process. We have to slowly get into the habit. So tomorrow we will go to the gym. I think I have to just, I don't know how many times, but there's a number of times that I need to wake up, not want to go, still go, be glad that I enjoyed that I went, and afterwards be glad that I did, that it will reach a point that when I feel, I no longer act on that by inacting, but rather by acting and going to pursue the good feeling, or potentially, and I don't know if this is what will if it will get to that point, but potentially I will enjoy getting up, like get excited for it. I'm hoping that actually occurs. It possibly might. I don't see why it wouldn't. Okay, so now that that's covered. The thing that I'm frustrated at right now is because like the videos that I'm uploading, I don't know which export settings to use because the videos are coming across very pixelated. So I've been looking online like what the right render setting for a video with a GoPro is, because I think that a GoPro has like a high bit rate because it's specifically for action, and these are action shots technically, because like although my face is pretty much the same, everything going on in the background, like that's a lot of information to be taking in on a tiny little sensor. So the bit rate needs to be high, even though I have the bit rate set to like the standard, which the lowest is around, like I don't know, around 40 megabits per second. But because YouTube needs to compress it down to like 8, anything higher than that. So I think what I'm going to try, and hopefully at this point I figured it out and this is crystal clear, but I'm going to export it at like 4K, because if you have the resolution at 4K, YouTube allows more room to increase the bit rate, so then I can make the bit rate like 40. The problem that runs into though is then like storage for it. But I go like, I can't, do I really need these videos stored offline, or is it okay if they're on YouTube? And yeah, it's like, I feel like part of me wants to have them. Do I need them at the highest quality? Like, okay, but that's actually something I could do. I could export it twice. Once with the really high settings, that one gets uploaded to YouTube, and one with lower settings, that one stays offline, because the lower setting bitrate videos don't look like crap. Only they look like crap once they're uploaded. That is a wasp's nest. I don't know if you can see it. I just saw wasps come in and out of that. Next thing I'd like to talk about. 128 dials today. Oh, there's lots to talk about with this. Okay, so 128 dials, only one booked appointment, but had a bunch of conversations. I think like 12 to 15 calls connected for the day. But here's the cool part, is a significant portion of the day was spent creating a spreadsheet which will track the time of day in which demos are booked. Like I did that before and then showed my manager, and he was like, this is a good idea. But like what would happen, I would like to see it with like both junior account executives. So then today I sent a message to the other junior account executive. Be like, hey, let me show you something. Then I showed him this. And what I had created was one spreadsheet that tracked mine, one spreadsheet that tracked his, and then a total spreadsheet that had like formulas in it such that when he added a value to a particular cell, then it would change the total for the total, so that we could get a graph at the end that shows one for my calls, one for his calls, and then one for both of our calls together. So that's that. He also seemed super excited about like seeing what that actually would, because he said that he was actually talking about to his friend today, like he doesn't know what time of day he should be calling, but can't like really figure that out, which I agree with. Like it's clear that between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. is a great time to call, lots of pickups. But other than that, it's kind of just like a shot in the dark. But then he suggested also tracking when calls were connected. So not just when we were successful in booking a demo, but also when do people pick up. So then we created a separate one for that, the same sort of structure. And then also a column for inbound, just again to see, because like, okay, today it's not going to have enough information to be useful, but after 3 months of calling 100+ dials a day, then you're really going to be able to see something emerge. Oh, fuck, there's a person. Okay, we're just going to turn around. Because actually, let's do the math there. Because we both consistently do 100+ a day. So if we'll start tomorrow. Actually, no, we'll just start next week. So there's 2 months before 3 months. 2 months have 4 weeks in it. 4 weeks have 5 days. 100 calls a day, 500 calls a week, 2,000 calls a month, 4,000 calls every 2 months, times 2, 8,000 calls. That's a decent sample size. And it's going to be 100 more than that. So that's in terms of amount of calls total. So assuming we get a 10% booking pickup rate, like, okay, so 1,000, 10% is 100, times 8 is 800. Then you'd have 800 data points to really kind of show when do people pick up. Oh, actually, no. So then that's actually going to be useful. So then the more calls we make, the more accurate this information can be. And then because this actually would be useful information that could then be proprietary, or not proprietary, but like I could be like, hey, this was research conducted by the Ideas or Tools founder or whatever. And then like, okay, yes, technically it would have to also be a part of Planswell, but they would have privy to that knowledge. I think I'm getting too far ahead myself, but it just is more actually doing this research, I guess you could call it, would provide insight to another business. Okay, so then that's why you should always track your metrics, but then the tough part is having a system which tracks that automatically, or having people which are interested in tracking the information, because part of this process is when I make a call and I connect it, I then have to go to the spreadsheet and go like, what time zone was this person in? When did the call start? What was the outcome? Like there's an extra step, which it's not like anybody can do it, but only somebody who's interested in doing it will do it, and will do it well and reliably. Because that's what happens when you're interested in it. And when you're not interested in it, you just don't do it. So it's not that you can't do it, it's like you don't care. So of course you're gonna do it poorly because you don't care. But so that's fun. That's that. What was interesting, because looking at his demos booked, mine, there was like it seemed like the morning was a good time to call. Like that was like pretty consistent. 4 to 5 was like prime time, and 1 to 2 in the respective time zone was prime time. The funny part was then when you looked at his, he didn't have as many because I think he hasn't been working as long. But it was just like flat, like there was like the same amount of demos booked in each hour. So then it was like, oh great, this information doesn't tell you anything. What it tells you is you need more information. But so that's cool and fun and exciting. Well, because then why that is actually useful information is because then you can here's why. If there are 3 times in the day in which it's useful to call, you get better pickups. Oh, no, hold on. The other thing that we started tracking was the actual time zone the person was in. So it's like if we have 9 phone pickups between 8 and 9, we also break that down into were they Atlantic, Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific Standard Time. And this one? Atlantic, Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific Standard Time, whatever, just to see whether or not there's a relationship, because perhaps there's a cultural bias towards one time or another. Like, I don't know, maybe people in California don't show up until 9, but all of them are really available between 4 and 5, whereas people in Alberta, for example, are really available between 8 and 9, but everyone leaves early at 4. So then it's like going like, it's not just you call between 8 and 9 or 5 and 4, 4 and 5, but depending on the location, that also could change as well, or nothing comes of it. But so that's cool. What else? I feel like there's something else I wanted to talk about. I don't think so. I have to edit a video tonight. I just like blank. It's cool. I think I'm enjoying myself. And yeah, actually I'm just gonna stop it there unless something else comes to me in the next 5 seconds. It doesn't. All right, I'll see you later. So I remembered the thing that I was going to talk about. That's why my mind went blank. Is why this, I'm going to go back on the boardwalk. Why this information is useful is because, let's say 8 to 9, 1 to 2, and 4 to 5 p.m. or times are the best hours to call people. What that then would mean is if you have 100 people if you have people to call, when 8 o'clock start, you start hitting the phones for Eastern time. Then once 9 o'clock hits, you stop calling Eastern and switch to Central. Then once 10 o'clock starts, you stop calling Central and switch to Mountain. Then once 12 starts, you switch to Pacific. And then once 1 o'clock starts again, then you can switch it back again to Eastern. But also, you also could reduce the amount of work that you have to do in a day, because if let's say you make 1,000 phone calls and your pickup rate is 5%, and then from that you book 50% of them and you close 50% of those. All you have to do is increase the pickup rate by 2.5%, and your closing rate, if you fix the other ones, keep the other ones fixed, will increase substantially, like by 30%. I remember doing the math. I can't do the math inside my head right now. But it just is a little switch of calling at a time that is more likely to have a pickup occur will have fall downstream and have significant effects later. Whereas instead of focusing on how do we close more people, it is how do we get more people to present to? Because then if we just have the same level of closing, we will increase the amount we close by a substantial amount compared to before. And yes, of course, you can always work on your closing percentage, but generally speaking, you aren't going to be able to convince somebody that they need something they don't. But you can expose what you have to more people, increasing the likelihood of you encountering someone who has the problem that you can solve and therefore would benefit from the program and therefore is somebody who you can close. And like, okay, so like instead of having to increase your closing percentages by 30%, all you have to do is increase your pickup rate by 2.5%. Like right there, it's just like, oh, well, that's obviously easier to do if you have the information which this potentially could demonstrate. This, if you have the information that this could potentially demonstrate, then it's like obvious. Then it's super easy. But if you don't have this information, then you don't. And then you go like, okay, well, should I hide this information? I don't think that strategy works long term. I think it would be better to be like, hey, look, this is super useful. Everyone have it. Because what I know is even if I'm trying to get myself to do something that I know is the right thing, I struggle at it. So even if I give someone the secrets, they're still going to fail to implement those secrets. So again, there still will be a need for someone to come in and be like, hey, let's set up a system that facilitates this knowledge being actually used. Yeah. Rather than going yeah. As well as there's so much more out there in the world that I can have my cake and you can eat it too. I can have my cake and you can eat it too. Is that a saying? It's a new saying. It could be. Anyways, now I'm done.